Yeah! That's me! It's me! Yes! Thank you!
I think it's about time we start off with some classic stories. There was this guy I went to high school with. His name was George. Fucking loved to eat glue. Everywhere you went, you see him fucking shoving a bottle of Elmer's fucking glue in his mouth. For a lunchbox, he'd bring a fucking box full of goddamn glue. Nothing but glue, and he'd eat that shit. Bro was constantly in the bathroom constipated from all the glue in his ass. I thought glue eating was pretty cool, so I then asked him to go to Applebee's with me, and I ordered the mozzarella sticks, though he just brought glue sticks, and he just chomped on that shit. Like, he's like the Mickey Mouse. He's like... Literally, seriously, I'm not shitting you. And we became good friends, though he died the way you expect a glue eater would die. A skydiving accident. You see, my school had a senior skydiving trip, and you had to pick a partner and pack your own shit. And then he said, don't forget the parachutes, though I thought he said pair of shoes for some reason. I don't know. It was really weird. And so, when he went to deploy his parachute, a pair of Nike Air Jordans came out and hit the ground and died. Though, I was a little shocked, because, I mean, they were Air Jordans, though that didn't matter. Yeah, I didn't jump out after I saw what happened. Although, his tombstone was the shape of a bottle of glue. Yeah, Elmer's paid for all the fucking funeral costs and shit.
Another high school story for you. So when I was in high school, there was this man. His name was Pulls the Fire Alarm Peter. That was his actual name. I'm not shitting you. By his name, he loved to pull the fire alarms. I'm saying at the school, at the mall, even at the movie theater. He'd get arrested for pulling the fire alarm so much. But then he'd pull the fire alarm at the jail and he escaped. The whole town started to look for him. They put on a wide search. They locked down the school for months to look for him. Peter snuck on a flight to France to hopefully escape America, but then he saw a firearm on the plane and, hell, he couldn't help himself. Then the plane made an emergency landing, but Paul was able to sneak back to the cops, but then he pulled the firearm at the airport, and guess what? He got caught. Paul was then put into a mental institution and put in a room with no windows and no fire alarms. But then when his birthday came around, they gave him a cake, and he blew out the candles, but then the padding on the wall caught fire, and there was no fire alarm to pull. And everyone in the mental institution died. So, if you have any kids that like to pull the fire alarms, do any of them want to end up like Pulls the Fire Alarm Peter, dying in a fucking mental institution? Well, do they? Speaking of Pulls the Fire Alarm Peter, I have a different story about him that I'd like to tell. So, I was on the swim team in school. Well, the girls' swim team. Well, you see, I wasn't fast enough to join the boys' swim team, so, there was that. So anyway, we had a big race coming up. So, I immediately started going fast, but then my swim trunks came off, and I could never find them. Then the girls came out, and the coach told me to get out because it was time for the boys to swim. But of course, I didn't want to get out. I didn't want the girls' swim team to see my small, shriveled up package. Don't be asking questions, mates. So I just said, no. The coach was like, quick, get the hell out. It's time for the boys to swim. But again, I didn't want to get out. And then that's when I saw Pulls the Fire Alarm Peter. This was before he died in that mental institution fire. Back then, he would pull the fire alarm if you dare him to. And I said, hey, Peter, can you pull the fire alarm? And he said, yup. And he pulled the fire alarm. And all the people came running out of the school. And I said, now's my chance. But then these two dick firefighters pulled me out of the pool and take me outside with everyone else. And the whole school saw my small shriveled up shrimp. That is the most embarrassing story of all my life. So, listen, I used to work as a dentist, let me tell you. So this kid comes in wanting his wisdom teeth removed, and I'm like, oh my god, well, I'm glad you come in here to get them removed, because sure as hell, you don't want to end up like Wisdom Teeth Willie. And the kid's like, who's Wisdom Teeth Willie? And I said, oh, he was a nice guy in high school I went with. Let me tell you about him. Oh yeah, let me just tell you about this guy real quick. So there was this kid named Willie I went to high school with, and he was obsessed with wisdom teeth. Like, literally, I'm not shitting you. He had a literal wisdom teeth shirt. He had wisdom teeth glasses, a wisdom teeth hat. This freak even had a freaking wisdom teeth shrine in his fucking locker. He was so obsessed with wisdom teeth, he sold merch of it. So he was able to purchase people's wisdom teeth when they got them removed. What a freak. He thought that he could blend all the wisdom teeth into a smoothie, and for some reason if he drank it, I don't know why, but whatever. He thought it would make him the smartest kid in the world. He eat teeth for breakfast like cereal. Weird, right? He called them wisdom teeth, though. Weird. Really weirdo. One day, though, his wisdom teeth started to come in, and hell, he didn't want to get them removed for some reason, because again, he's a freak, because he thought it was a sign from God or something. He was the smartest kid in the world. What a weirdo. Seriously. I know I'm always talking smack about my high school mates, but seriously, this guy was a weirdo. And again, like with George and Peter, he's also dead. Because when his teeth grew bigger, he looked like a walrus. A walrus-looking motherfucker. He was literally nearly cast in the live-action remake of Ice Age as Mammy the Mammoth. Soon his wisdom teeth got so fucking big, He couldn't even open his mouth to eat anymore. They had to literally drill a hole through his wisdom teeth and put a straw through it. He eventually ended up starving to death when I realized he didn't like soup. Anyway, yeah, so the dentist patient was just like, I don't want to end up like Wisdom Teeth Willie. And I was like, oh, don't worry, you're not going to end up like Wisdom Teeth Willie. And the mom was like, how much is this going to cost? I'm like, oh, don't worry, you and I will make that out later. And I didn't mean I was going to have sex with her or anything. Like, literal, like, seriously, I meant, like, we could just work out the payment. But I didn't realize that she thought I meant, like, I was just gonna hook her up. Like, fuck nah. Honestly, I think that the children's media and what they're watching is extremely inappropriate. Like, honestly, I'm not trying to say all children's media is bad, but I'm just saying, like, there are some shows out there that are extremely inappropriate, and I don't think children should be watching that shit at all. Like, I was literally looking through my house, and I found a lost episode of Tom and Jerry that I had, but I never found out about it. It was titled Tom's Basement. I then asked my kids if they wanted to watch it, and they said yes. But then, when I actually played the episode and I put it into the VHS tape, oh my god, I was mortified by what I saw. You don't want to know. Like, literally, like, 5 minutes into the episode, and Jerry and Tom were in a fight, and literally it ended with Tom cutting Jerry's head off with a knife. Like, what the fuck? Earlier, my children were, like, hugging me and be like, I'm scared, Papa. What's happening to Tom? What's he on? Is he high? Or is he drunk? I don't know. Like, seriously, what were these producers smoking? Like, were these producers high? I don't know. I want to know what they were smoking. I'm pissed off. I want to know what they were smoking. I was pissed off then, and I'm pissed off now. I want to know what they were smoking to think that episode would have been suitable for children. Like, seriously, I'm not fucking with y'all. I am pissed off that they would have thought this was suitable for children. But then, I decided to go on Hulu, because Hulu's pretty safe, right? And I find Tom and Jerry, and I find out Tom's Basement was not on there at all. So I find out, I read an article that actually got banned in every single country because it was super violent. And I was thinking, well, I ain't pissed off no more, so I can just forget about this stuff. And then I take my kids to bed and I say, hey, just forget about what you saw in that episode. It's banned, it's not real, and other stuff. So yeah, I learned a lot of stuff from that. Like, trust no one. Here are some St. Patrick's Day stories, which I think will really brighten this mood. Yeah, shut up. I know it's past St. Patrick's Day, but that shit don't matter no more, does it? So, on St. Patrick's Day, you know how you're supposed to wear green, right? Well, my great-grandmother, Joanne, died, and her funeral happened to land on St. Patrick's Day. And I just wanted to go, and I just bought an all-green suit, and green shoes, and green socks, and green underwear, and all that stuff. I looked like a leprechaun, but guess what color? Everyone else was wearing black. Not a single piece of green clothing was at that funeral, no siree. I'm just like, all you guys are fucked. I went around pinching everyone. My uncles, my aunts, my nieces, my nephews, everyone. And everyone was crying, but I couldn't tell if it was about Joanne dying, or they forgot to wear green and got pinched. So yeah, you shouldn't wear green on St. Patrick's Day unless you want to get pinched. But then I was telling this story to a friend, and they were like, or is your family sad that they were just trying to grieve and all you cared about was just pinching the shit out of them? And I was like, yeah, maybe, could be both, but who cares? Just never invite me to a funeral on St. Patrick's Day unless you want to get pinched. So just, y'all better remember that for later. If you ever invite me to a funeral, just don't forget to wear green unless you want to get pinched. So there's this other time on St. Patrick's Day where I wore everything green. I had a green hat, green shirt, green pants, green shoes, green underwear, green socks. I even had green snow cones, so my shit could be green. So I was just over there just pinching anyone who wasn't wearing green, and they couldn't do shit, because, of course, they weren't wearing green, and I caught them. But other than this kid Diddley, he was pinching me, even though I was wearing green, so I just punched him in the face. And then I found my perfect target, Mr. Fat Ass, my sex ed teacher. Everyone wanted to know if his ass was firm or juicy, because Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, and the wall was his ass. So I gave it a little pinch, and bam, it felt like jello. I pinched it a couple more times, like squishy, squishy, squish, 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 squish. I even gave it a little slap. And by a little slap, I meant like a big, hard, hurts a lot slap. And then the guy felt it, and he was like, John, quick, principal's office now. And I'm like, but Mr. Fat Ass, you're not wearing green. And you're big yachted on a Tuesday or something. I don't know. I don't remember what I said. I was in high school. Shut up. But he was like, oh, but I am wearing green. And then pulled down his pants and showed me the green clover tattoo on his bare ass. And man, I wasn't even care that I was suspended for 2 weeks. That was the greatest day of my life. Though Mr. Fat Ass did get arrested for mooning the whole class. So, of course, there was that. So, if you're a teacher on St. Patrick's Day, and I'm sure a lot of the people in this audience is, don't just not wear green and then pull down your pants and full moon them and then reveal that you were wearing green, but it looked like on the outside you weren't. So just don't do that. Well, just don't do that unless you want to end up like Big Yacht, who is extremely dead now. He didn't die from the electric chair or guillotine or anything. He died from natural causes like cancer and old age and shit. So yeah, those are my best sellers, guys. I will tell you. Oh, I was in elementary school and we were making some macaroni art. Like, you should have seen me. It was gorgeous. I made a smiley face, and I called the teacher over. I was like, Mr. Williams, look. And he gave me a thumbs up, and I was like, fuck yeah, I got a thumbs up. That's me. But then there he was, Macaroni Jones. Him with his famous dinosaur out of macaroni. Like, literally, I'm talking, it was gorgeous. I thought it was a real damn dinosaur. His art was so good. And Mr. Williams was like, hey, class, look how good Macaroni Jones's art is. And you should have seen that kid. He pulled off his eyes after that. He said that was the last thing he wanted to see because it was so beautiful. So all that shit just pissed me off. So then I got a bucket of glue and a box of macaroni, and I stayed up all night to try and make macaroni art better than that bitch. And I just stayed up all night to try to make macaroni art better than his. So I arrived to school the next day, tired as always, and I was like, Mr. Williams, look, I made the best tree out of macaroni. You should have seen it. It was gorgeous. He just said, very nice, quick, and that broke my heart. Very nice? Very nice? That's it from you, Mr. Motherfucker? But then we heard a honk outside and the whole class came out. And then Macaroni Jones showed up in his macaroni car. And like, I was like, how is that possible? How do you have a macaroni car? Just seen that kid with no eyes. He pulled off his ears after that. He's like, I want to be that last thing I want to hear because it's so beautiful. So that, of course, pissed me off. I heard Macaroni Jones even made his entire house and backyard and patio out of macaroni. He even put a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. So that way, I vowed from that day forward to be the absolute best. I never heard what happened to Macaroni Jones after that. I heard his name is now Macaroni Page, and he's the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys now. That's what I hear, so I don't know. So I was invited to the Quicatino house. So eventually I go over to the Quicatino house, I pull up to the Quicatino house, I go in the Quicatino house, and they want to play some poker. And they saw how good I was at poker, because I'm great at it. I had my buddy Quick Quentin along. So they wanted me and my buddy Quick Quentin to be in their district for the Hunger Games. And I'm like, okay, that sounds fun. So they took us to Denny's to get us a lot of food so we'd get full before the Hunger Games. Like, we literally sucked that down like... Anyway, I'm getting off track. So then they took us to a strip club so we'd get some chicks in and get our strength up before the big fight. And then they put us in all these little big tube things and like raised us up like... and raised us up with all the other district people. And they said go, and they fired a gun in the air. So usually you're supposed to run and grab a bunch of weapons, but I already had my pool stick gun from earlier. So Quick Quentin and I was just running around exploring the forest and shit. And then we hid out in a tree and just waited. So then we saw this girl named Asslicker or something, I don't know, and she had this boyfriend named Peta. Not Peter, Peta, you know, like how like Lois Griffin says Peter. It was weird. And they were killing people with their bows and arrows and shit. Then Quick Quentin sneezed, so Asslicker was gonna try to shoot us with her bow and arrow. So then I shot this bee's nest full of deadly bees with my pool stick gun, and it hit Peta on the head. And then I used my last bullet from the other gun to shoot Asslicker on the head. So then we just camped until there was one player left. And then Quick Quentin was like, yo, let's get him. He's definitely bot. But I didn't have any weapons. All I had was a chug jug. So Quick Quentin just kind of ran out into the forest and was going to shoot him until he then started building twin towers. And Quick Quentin was like, yo, bitch is real. Bitch is real. And then Quick Quentin got sniped. So then I was just running around. And then the guy was going to try to jump on me, but then he died from fall damage. That's how I won the Hunger Games. I'd like to speak with this little guy in the audience. Sir, what's your name?
James.
Really? Then, James, how old are you?
7.
Okay, was it your birthday today? Did you just turn 7?
Yesterday was my birthday.
Oh my god, well, are you okay hearing this story? You probably know him. His name is Tyler Tylenol, the son of the founders of Tylenol. When his mom was pregnant with him, she would eat Tylenol for every meal. When he was a baby, she would bottle feed him Tylenol, nothing but Tylenol. And when he was having trouble sleeping, his mom would give him Tylenol PM. Lunch at school, Tylenol would bring a lunchbox full of Tylenol, nothing but Tylenol. He was socially awkward, but I was friends with him. He was super smart and he'd help me with my homework. And for some reason, I'm not trying to talk smack about Tylenol, or TT for short, he would just run out of the classroom screaming when the fire alarm would go off. I guess he was just really scared of dying in a fire. But during a tornado, he would go into the safe room and meditate. I guess he wasn't that afraid of dying in a tornado. However, though, I was actually on the wrestling team with Tylenol, and he was very strong. He fought our school rival's best player, Andy Advil, the son of the founders of Advil, who had his signature move, the fever reducer. But Tyler won with his extra strong pain reliever move from all the Tylenol he'd been consuming. But also, I think this may be just worth mentioning for little James here. Tyler actually won by spelling our winning word of the spelling bee, acetaminophen, which is actually a very bad disease, it's a drug. Yeah, I know a lot of 7-year-olds who actually smoke, and I want them to quit smoking. God knows why. And I have another story about drugs that I'd like to share. One time, I was a cop, and I went to this woman's window. They were stopped at a stop sign for an hour and a half, or something like that. And I knocked on their window, and I said, "Excuse me, I haven't been smoking any pot today." They go "No." And I'm like, "Well, you've been stopped here for the past hour and a half. Can you tell me where that is?" And this other guy in the back seat goes, "We're waiting for the stoplight to turn green." And I'm like, "How high are you?" And the woman's like, "Hi, how are you?" And I'm like, "No, I said, how high are you?" And that other guy was like, "Hi, how are you?" And I was like, "Get the fuck out of the car." And they were like, "What?" And I'm like, "No, you're being a smartass to a police officer. You're going to fucking jail, lady." And the lady's just like she was high and drunk. How do you get high and drunk? And she opens her car door, and I pull her out of the car, and I'm like, "Get on the ground." And I'm aiming my pistol at her like this, and then she lays down on the floor, and her accomplice guy lays down on the floor. And I put both of them in handcuffs, and I put them in my patrol car, and then I take them to jail. And they are still in jail to this very day. Well, actually, they were in the jail for 2 years until someone had bailed their asses out. So, yep, never do drugs. Yeah, that's what I could say to you. Don't do drugs. I bet a lot of people in the audience was thinking I was dead since I wasn't posting as many comedy stuff as I did. What the fuck are you doing with yourselves?
You haven't been doing comedy.
A very sound sleep. Sorry, you thought I was dead. And instead of calling for help or grabbing an ambulance, you decided to get a member of your family to dress up as a shitty, oversized version of me and started to sing fucking show tunes.
The show must go on.
Man, this shit is hilarious. When I was a kid, I was the hide-and-seek champion. All my friends would come over, we play hide-and-seek, and no one could ever find me. I would always yell, "We give up," and I'd pop out of my hiding spot, the champion. And when it was my turn to seek, I'd find everyone in seconds, just gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Then this one kid showed up. His name was hide-and-seek Meek. You see, Meek, he could hide in places no other human being could possibly fit in. It's like this guy had no bones. He could just slither into hiding spots like a snake or a turtle or something. There was a one time I was looking for Meek for an entire 24 hours, and then I gave up. And he jumped out of a fucking toaster. I know that sounds physically impossible, but that's true. I don't know how the fuck he did it. Then when it was Meek's turn to seek, he'd find everyone in seconds. Just gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Meek was the new hide-and-seek champion. Then this one time, Meek was seeking, and I stowed away on a train, stowed away on a steamboat to Europe, changed my name to European Comedian, got plastic surgery to change my entire face, and still Meek found me. I was so pissed, and I was confused. And that's when I decided to hide cameras in my house. And then we play hide-and-seek again. And I saw Meek hiding a box of Cheerios. So I lit my house on fire and I ran out and he died. That's the end of that story, but how fucked up is that, right? I mean, how could you find someone if they changed their name, moved to a different continent, and got plastic surgery to change their entire face? Seriously, that happened. I was so confused. I want to know how he did, but he wouldn't tell me. What the fuck? So I was in high school from 1990 to 1997 when there was this kid named Bill. and he was a huge Buffalo Bills fan. And he was like, the Buffalo Bills are going to win the Super Bowl this year. And I was like, no, they're not, because they suck so bad. Well, surprisingly, the Buffalo Bills actually made it to the Super Bowl. And he said, ha, I told you they were going to win. And I said, no, they don't, because they fucking suck. And guess what? The Buffalo Bills lost that Super Bowl. And I laughed so hard in Bill's stupid, ugly face. And then sophomore year comes around and the Buffalo Bills get to another Super Bowl. And Bill said, this is going to be the year they win. I said, no, you don't. Root for the Cowboys. They don't suck ass like your team does. And the BBs, for short, Buffalo Bills, lost the Super Bowl again. I laughed even harder in Bill's ugly face. And then junior year comes around and Buffalo Bill is just going, I just know we're going to win the Super Bowl this year. And I said, no, they not. Stop saying that, for God's sake. And they lost the Super Bowl for the third time in a row. And then senior year, the final year of high school, comes around, and Buffalo Bill is like, no way my team loses 4 Super Bowls in a row. And I said, yeah, they will, because they suck so fucking bad. And just guess what happened?
They lost.
Then the whole school was laughing in Bill's face. That's when he finally snapped and said, you know what? I'm gonna kill fat women and wear their fucking skin. And then he ran out of the school crying and somewhat evil laughing. And I said, yeah, your team fucking sucks. So when I was in college, there was this guy named Mitch who liked to ding-dong ditch. His parents were rich. He stopped at Anacromy and Fitch. He had this weird twitch, and he had perfect pitch, and he loved Lilo and Stitch. And his mom was, well, you know, around with Stitch, a hooker. Well, anyway, Mitch would go around the houses in the neighborhood playing ding-dong ditch. And he'd just ring the doorbell and then just haul ass. But he never got caught, even though he bragged about it at school to everyone. He would ding-dong ditch highly dangerous criminals, but this one time, he decided to ding-dong ditch the ding-dong ditch witch. Went up to the doorbell, but just before he touched the doorbell, the ding-dong ditch witch pulled out her wand and gave Mitch an itch that turned Mitch into an itchy little bitch. He was so itchy after that, he couldn't stop itching. He would itch in class, and everyone thought he had a disease. He would even itch while he was driving, and then he crashed his car into a ditch. He was paralyzed from the neck down, and his nose would twitch and itch, but he couldn't give it a scritch. First of all, that's a word. That's a word. It means the same thing as scratch. Look it up. And the hospital only had 2 movies back then. The movie Hitch and Lilo and Stitch, but it was the sequel. Stitch has a glitch, and he didn't like that one, so his nurse offered to copy it with her copy of Leroy and Stitch, but whoever seen that one. My point is that Mitch is still in the hospital to this day with an itch he just can't quite fix. So in high school, we had dances like homecoming and prom, and everyone would be asking girls out trying to get dates to the dance. But there was this one kid that never had to worry about getting a date to the dance. His name always got a date to the dance, Lance. Again, that was his real name. I'm not shitting you. Lance was rolling on dates. Every time a school dance was coming around, girls would politely turn down guys' offers to go to the dance because they were hoping Lance was taking them to dance. I was asking girls out in the craziest ways, and they said no, hoping to a chance to the dance with Lance. That is hard to say. Paid an airplane advertisement company $50 to fly a banner over the beach to ask a girl out, and she said no. I had the chorus club sing to a girl in class, and she still said no. And I had the lunch lady spell it out with a bunch of french fries, and she still said no. No one had a chance against Lance. Me and the other guys were pissed. We'd all show up to the dance without dates. All the chicks took one glance at Lance, and they were in a trance, and the theme of the dance was France. I knew I had to stop this bullshit, so I put ants in Lance's pants, but it just enhanced his dance. So then I pantsed Lance while he danced. Turns out he had a huge thing. Lance began to prance with it dragging behind him, though Lance was expelled after that for refusing to pull up his pants. Though I hear he has a degree in finance and he likes plants. So yeah, if you ever have bullies, just pants them and just expect they have a huge dong, and all the girls would love that. I'm kidding, don't do that. You will get arrested. Or should I say more likely, I'll get arrested, because I'm not trying to tell you guys to do it. I mean, I'll just tell them it was your idea. This kind of reminds me of another story about this kid that really wanted to donate one of his kidneys, but then these 2 kids weren't a match, and they died. So there was a kid named really wants to donate one of his kidneys, Dan. That was his real name. I'm not shitting you guys. And hell, he really wanted to donate one of his kidneys. He would ask everyone if they needed a kidney. He'd even ask the teachers. He would literally fall down on the ground in the cafeteria and scream, "Get this fucking kidney out of me." So then, one day, on the last couple of days of school, this one girl named really needs a kidney transplant. Riley transferred to her school. Literally, that was a real name. I'm not shitting you guys. And she really needed a kidney transplant. So it was the best day ever for Dan. But then it turned out Dan and Riley weren't a match. So they couldn't do the transplant, and Riley died. Although, apart from Riley's death, sadly, rest in peace, Dan ended up giving one of his kidneys to our biology teacher, Miss Can't Stop Drinking Whiskey, Catherine. But then she died of liver failure. Earlier today, I was patrolling at the park, and it was just a beautiful day. And then this kid runs up and he shoves me. And he's like, "Tag, you're it." And I'm like, what the fuck was this, some kind of game? So I'm running around, and I'm putting the burners, because this kid is fast, faster than I'll ever be. He's laughing, he's giggling, he's chuckling, he's like, "You're never gonna catch me." And I'm like, "Oh, when I catch you, I'm gonna beat your ass." So we're just running around the park, and then he trips, and he falls on a sandbox. And I'm like, "Oh, I got you now, you little bastard." And then he kicks sand in my face, and I'm just like, and I'm like, "Oh, you're not gonna kick sand at me." So I pick him up, and I punch him in the face. And I'm like, "Tag, you're it." And then he just starts crying, and his mom's just like, "Hey, you just punched my son." And I'm like, "Yeah, I did. What are you going to do about it?" So then I put a bag over her head, and I start taking her to my van, and a bunch of people are just getting her phones out and filming it. I'm like, that's not good. And then I start throwing haymakers. I start punching everyone who has a phone. And then I had to take every single one of those people's phones, so there's no evidence of what I did, and I run away. And then there's more to this story. So I go home with all the phones I took, and I lay them on the counter, and I'm talking to my wife, and I'm like, "Honey, sell these phones on eBay, because we're earning money for all the lawsuits we're about to get." And she asked me where the hell I got the phones, and I said, "Oh, I confiscated them from some criminals." And she's like, "Oh, okay, well, I made you some pizza rolls." And I start jumping up and down, because I love me some pizza rolls. I grab a handful of them, and my wife is like, "Careful, honey, those are hot." And I'm like, "Shut up, bitch." And I start shoving those pizza rolls in my mouth, and I mean, oh god, those things are boiling, like my mouth is on fire. And then my wife, she has the audacity to say, "I told you they were hot." And then, I throw the plate at her. I'm like, "Yeah, I know my mistake. You don't have to remind me of it. Shut up." So then there's this little thing of skin hanging between my mouth, and I keep playing with it with my tongue, and it's a whole mess. Then I'm just pissed off. And then I hear the doorbell ring, and I'm thinking, oh shit, this must be the angry mob from the park. They want their phones back. But it's not. It's just some Girl Scouts selling Girl Scout cookies and doing the job. They're like, "Hello, would you like to buy some Girl Scout cookies?" And I'm like, yes, shut up. Why are you even here? Take my money, take it all. And these Girl Scouts, they have the audacity to say, "Okay, your cookies will be here in 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the hell is this? Who are you? Are you even a real Girl Scout? So I punch her in the face, and I take my money back. 2 to 3 weeks for fucking cookies? What is this, the new iPhone? Like, what the hell? I could order some damn cookies on Amazon Prime and get them faster. Then I go to Walmart and I buy myself some Oreos, and I'm feeling happy and chipper. I'm just sitting on my relaxing, reclining chair. And I'm like, 2 to 3 weeks for cookies, my ass, I say as I shove a cookie in my mouth. And then I hurt myself because I remember that I already burned my face on the pizza rolls. So yeah, that little skin on the little top of my mouth fucking sucks. So a couple hours before I went to the show, I was trying to bake. I was trying to make this triple chocolate cake. And then I see this fly. And I'm like, what you doing? And then I found out I was going to take the chocolate cake, and I couldn't let them take the chocolate cake. I mean, it was too beautiful. So then I grab a rolling pin, and I start getting it like crazy, like whack, whack, like shoo, get out of here, fly. Then the fly took the rolling pin from me, and it started beating me up with it. And then I called up its flying ho boys. And then they pulled up in a box Chevy, and they say, "This is a free community, Dixa." And they started beating me up like crazy, but even worse. And the worst part is they took my fucking chocolate cake. Why? And that was the first and the last time my wife ever let me bake in the kitchen. Yeah, it was really sad they took my cake. And now, after this show, I'm possibly gonna murder those flies that took my cake. And I'll save my chocolate cake baby from those evil flies. Rest in peace, beautiful triple chocolate cake. Or some other shit like that. I don't really know what to do. I guess I'll just have a memorial right after the show. So when I was in middle school, like 7th grade-ish, there was this kid named Stuck in a Cave Dave, and guess what he was always having? Getting stuck in caves. Every chance he frickin' got, he'd go get stuck in a damn cave. It wasn't about cave diving. No. It was about getting stuck for Dave. He really liked to waste the rescue workers' time, and when they had to get them unstuck with his winches and drills, and every time they'd get him unstuck, he'd go back in and get stuck. They'd have to steal every cave with cement after they rescued him, just so he wouldn't go back in. But shit, nah, that didn't stop Dave. He'd always find a new cave to go get stuck in. Eventually, his parents locked him in his room and grounded him, which was a very smart move. But although he just got himself stuck between the mattress headboard, which I don't even know how that happens. Although for some reason, one random day, we were taking a test, and Dave snuck out of the classroom window. Then he went to the Nutty Putty Cave and got stuck, like upside down, like 10 feet in this 10-inch wide hole. He was completely stuck. Rescue workers tried to save him for hours, and they even lowered a phone to him so he could talk to his family, though I don't know how, but he played Angry Birds with his nose. Until eventually they realized saving him wasn't worth it because he'd go get stuck in a different cave, so they just sealed up him in the cave while he played Angry Birds, and he eventually died of starvation and lack of thirst since there's no water in the cave. Yeah, and I'm also very sorry I was not trying to mock James Edward Jones' story, though rest in peace. That was a very sad story. James Earl Jones was a man who was exploring the Nutty Caves in 2009 and eventually was trying to go into the birth canal, but eventually he went the wrong way and got stuck upside down. Tried rescuing him for hours, but he eventually died and the cave was sealed off as his tomb.
Back in high school, I had this girlfriend named Liga Lugo. She was so gorgeous. She was my soulmate. I just knew it. She absolutely adored Legos, and I'd come to her house every single day to build Legos with her. And 1 week before her birthday came around, I decided to give her this really cool Lego set of a car, or really a Mercedes-Benz. Yeah, anyway, so I come to school with the Mercedes-Benz Lego set, and I also have some heart balloons because I want to show my girlfriend how much I love her. Anyway, so the teacher introduces us to a new kid in our class named Larry Lego, the son of the founders of Lego. Anyway, so he saw the whole scene of me and my girlfriend, and he pulled out a pair of Lego flowers. I know that sounds physically impossible, but it's true. I don't know how the fuck he did it. And she wasn't impressed. She wanted to stay with me, like, as she always would. Then, Larry pulled out a Lego sketchbook and showed my girlfriend all the cool Lego sketches he did. Still, Leah wasn't impressed. And my girlfriend, she loved Pringles. And so Larry got an idea to pull out a Lego can full of Lego Pringles. Then she was convinced, and right then and there, they started making out. I cried in tears, holding up the Lego set I bought her. Then Larry Lego pulled out a Lego helicopter, and Leah came with him, and they flew into the Lego sunset. Heard they got married, and she only had to change one letter in her last name. That's the end of that story, but how fucked up is that, right? But here's another story for you, because I feel like one story wasn't enough. This one's kind of like the Buffalo Bills story. When I was in high school, there was this guy named Carlo. He was a huge Cowboys fan. We called him Carlo Cowboy. One day, he says, the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl this year. And I said, no, they don't. They fucking suck. Well, the Cowboys actually made it to the Super Bowl. And he's just like, I told you they're going to win. And I said, no, they don't, because they suck. And guess what? The Cowboys lost the Super Bowl. I laughed hard in Carlo's stupid, ugly face. So, sophomore year comes around, thank God. And Carlo is like, the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl because the Cowboys actually made it to the next Super Bowl. And I said, no, they don't. They suck. And the Cowboys lost the Super Bowl for a second time in a row. I laughed even harder in Carlo's face. And soon junior year comes around, and Carlo was just going around the halls and be like, this is our year. We're going to win. And I say, no, they're not. They're not going to win. And they lost again. I laughed my ass off in Carlo's face. And then senior year, the last year of high school. Carlo is like, grabs my t-shirt, and he's like, listen, man, I know that this is going to be the year that the Cowboys will win. And I say, no, they don't, as I pull his hand off my shirt, because they suck so fucking bad. And guess what happened? The Cowboys lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. The whole school was laughing at him. And I guess this one day, Carl was sick and tired of it. So he said, you know what? I'm going to kill dogs and turn them into fur coats. And he was just running and screaming out of the classroom. And I'm like, yeah, your team fucking sucks. So when I was in high school, there was this kid named Christmas Lights Larry. And he was just covered in Christmas lights. He had Christmas lights all around his shirt, his shoes, even his hat and his freaking backpack was covered in Christmas lights. His freaking locker at freaking school was covered in freaking Christmas lights. His car that I even drove to school was covered in Christmas lights. His parents' house would win best Christmas lights every single year. And guys, it wasn't just during Christmas time. All year round,
He was covered in goddamn Christmas lights. He would always lose at hide and seek. He'd always piss people off in the movie theaters because he was so fucking bright. And this one time, I had front row tickets to a Michael Jackson concert, and I had the whole outfit. The hat, the shiny glove, I had a cool poster that I wanted Michael Jackson to sign, and I just knew he was going to notice me and take me to his Neverland Ranch. And while I was watching the concert, I just loved watching Michael Jackson's funny Thriller stuff and all that. That's when I noticed a bunch of shiny blinking lights, and I just knew that it had to be Christmas Lights Larry. And I knew he had front row tickets because he was in the frickin' front row. Michael Jackson immediately noticed him because of all the damn Christmas lights and chose him instead. I was devastated. Christmas Lights Larry got to go to the Neverland Ranch with Michael Jackson, and he took so many cool pictures, like this one selfie of him with a reindeer, and with Michael Jackson, with them posing with the middle finger. Oh my god, you should have seen it. It was so cool. He bragged about it all at school. You now want to know how pissed off I was, and I've been plotting my revenge ever since. Oh wait, there he is. Hi Larry. This is payback for the Michael Jackson thing. Well, damn, guess I'm out. Oh, well. So, throughout the years, I have had a lot of people ask me, how do you all make these comedy videos? Well, you can either make a comedy video by, like, taking a funny little story you heard and revamping it into your own way, or you could just tell jokes in front of your YouTube viewers and just hope you can do it. So, there are really two ways if you're going for, like, the comedian approach. There are really two ways you can do it. One of them is just one long video with the entire comedy segment. Or, you could just do a playlist with each story and joke as like separate videos that people could either jump to. So anyway, back to what I was gonna say. One time I was working in a movie theater. There was this family. They were wanting to buy tickets for this movie called 50 Shades of Grey, which is a very old-fashioned sentence. Anyway, so they pay for their ticket, they go to the snack bar, get their popcorn, and then they enter the theater, and I'm like 30 minutes and I'm asleep, not giving a royal dick. And then I hear a bunch of commotion in the theater where 50 Shades of Grey is playing. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what's going on here? And I enter the theater, I'm looking around, and I see this kid. He, has his feet up on the chair, and he's just kicking the chair that belongs to this old man. Kind of like how they do on airplanes, kids just, kick the seats in front of him. Yeah, he was kicking the seat in front of him. And he's just, repeatedly kicking. He's like, shut up, loser. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. Is there a problem? And the guy completely roasts the kid, and he's like, yeah, the kid behind me was born. And I'm just, about to tell him to stop. But he kicks the chair, and the old man's like, son of a bitch. And I'm just I whip out a belt and I'm like, kid, stop kicking the chair. And he's like, make me broke, boy. And he kicks the chair again. I'm like, what the fuck? And the dad's like, oh, hold on, Karen, I'll call you back. I gotta deal with something. And the guy's like, yo, usher man, can you get me and my kid some more popcorn? And I slap him across the face because that's how I roll. And the guy's like, what the hell was that for? And I'm like, what the fuck do you think? And he's like, ow. Why? I'm like, look at your kid. He's kicking the seat in front of him. Tell your kid to stop kicking the chair in front of him. What the hell's wrong with you? And he's like, but he wants to. And the kid's like, yeah, he wants to. And I'm like, oh, hell no. And I'm just like, I don't care. Stop it. And the kid's like, ha ha. And the old man is like, I'm about to give this brat-ass bitch some life experience. And the guy's just like, so about that popcorn, I'm like, I'm not getting popcorn. Get it yourself, motherfucker. And the guy's like, can you at least give me a Slurpee? And you can be slurping through a hospital tube. And that old man's just like, God, you gonna make him dumber. I say, go for it. And the dad's like, hang on, I gotta get back to my phone call. And he's just on the phone. He's like, hey, Karen, sorry about that. That was a work thing. And I'm like, whack him. Anyway, that old man's like, my wife's name is Karen. And the kid just kicks the chair again really hard. Kid, I swear to God, stop kicking the chair. I mean it, no jokes. There will be consequences. And he kicks the chair again. And the old man's like, no video surveillance in the movie theater. And that gave me a great opportunity to drop kick that kid. I'm just kidding. I didn't actually drop kick that child. I hit a button on my phone that allowed some random seat to explode, which one I chose. It was sitting in A, B. So, of course, I tapped on my phone and went to the section where I can make chairs explode, and I chose that one. And kaboom!
The end of him. And I sure do hope that's the last story about that motherfucker.
This one random day at 8 p.m., December 18th, 2019, I was invited to my friend's house for dinner. Pretty exciting, right? Well, no. When I got there, it was a trick. Everyone was wearing cloaks, and I immediately knew that it was an intervention. It was basically an intervention for me. And you all know interventions for me are my least favorite kinds of interventions. I walked into my intervention that night. I immediately had that thought that it was an intervention. Could you imagine how bad of a drinking problem you must have to have if the first thing you do when you walk into an apartment is you see a bunch of people wearing cloaks? First and immediate thought is probably an intervention about my alcoholism. There would literally be no reason my best friend would be fucking his dad. This was basically my thought process walking into my intervention that night. Going to dinner with a friend from high school. Going to dinner with a friend from high school. Going to dinner with a friend from high school. What's Keanu Reeves doing here? Fuck! Also, I was a day late to my intervention. I didn't know that there were people waiting on me in cloaks. I wish I would have known that it was an intervention. I would have been a year late. Or maybe a million years late. God knows how many years I'd be late. I was like a whole day late, so everyone was mad at me. They were like, John, where were you? And they were like, John, what the hell? You've been gone for like a whole damn day. And I said, I was filling up my pipe. You know, you could have texted me. You could have been like, John, we have extra crack. I would be half an hour early to help cook dinner. I was running late because I was running two very important errands. First, I went to my bartender's apartment, which is a very weird sentence to say in front of a bunch of people. I went to fill up my liquor bottle in case anything would go wrong on my intervention. And also, I was friends with him, and I was helping him film an ad video for his new booze. And my bartender had to pay me in cash in order to show my face in his new ad. My dinner was scheduled around 7 p.m. and the second errand is kind of amusing to me. I went to go and get a haircut. I went to go and get my haircut from none other than John Mulaney, who is a comedian, not a fully licensed barber. But I knew he had a hair guy before he would always go on stage, so he took me to his venue, and his guy immediately started clipping my hair and made me look all sexy. So John Mulaney took me to his venue. He let me into his studio. I went up to his floor where he had the hair department. I broke into this barber shop, and I said, hey, make me look all sexy. And you know what he did next? He was able to do extensions, so he made me look like Ponyboy from the fucking Outsiders. And John Mulaney's hair guy was like, what the hell, John, quick, can I have your autograph? This is John Mulaney's, his studio, not yours. Get out of here, you crazy high motherfucker. And I said, ha, can I have a haircut? A lot of you work in offices, and you know that one moment where a greaser walks into your office and demands a haircut, and you start hesitating for a second, but then come to the decision, it'd be faster to cut the hair. That's exactly what happened with this hair guy. My girlfriend's wonderful, though. I listen to everything my girlfriend says. I don't mean she bosses me around, but we'll be in a restaurant and she'll say, you ordered your food 3 hours ago. It should be here by now. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Or she'll be like, the bus driver can't talk to you that way. And I'm like, no, you can't. But before I had a girlfriend, I was so naive and easy to fool. Oh, damn, well, you're gonna give me $100 for all my songs? What do I say, Mr. Golodita? But, however, though, even when I'm not my girlfriend, I'll tolerate any shit. You can just treat me any way you like. Like this one time, sometimes I fly alone a lot, and I just book a flight on some garbage airline. And, I don't want to name an actual airline because I don't want to make them look bad, so we'll call it, Toilet Airlines or something. So I show up to Toilet Airlines, and I go, hey, can I get on the plane now? And they go, no, it's delayed 7 hours. I go, okay, and then I go to the bathroom. I come out of the bathroom, and I go, any updates? And they go, yeah, we took off while you were in the bathroom. Because fuck you. Take this microwavable meal that doesn't work. Go fetch. And I go, okay, and then I walk over there and pick it up. And then I go over to the P Experience, and I'm like, can I have a sandwich, please? And they go, no. And I go, okay. And they go, you're a little pork boy, aren't you? And I go, no. And they go, say it. And I go, I'm a little pork boy. And then I go to the toilet help people, which are stupid as hell. And I go, hey, can I please go home on an airplane? And they go, no. In fact, we're going to frame you for murder. And you're going to go to jail for the rest of your years. And I go, why are you doing this? And they just go,
because we're Toilet Airlines and life is a shitty nightmare. But if my girlfriend, she'll be like, let's see if Delta Airlines has any flights. And Delta is better, apparently. One time, my phone rings, and I go to pick it up, and I'm like, hello, who may this be? And he's like, I'm inside your house. And I'm like, okay. And I hang up, and then he rings up again, and I'm like, hello. And he's like, why'd you hang up? Why the hell did you hang up on me? And I'm like, if you're inside my house, Brooke, just come talk to me. And he's like, I'm in the closet, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're gay? That's fine. And that random dude's like, no, I'm not gay. And I'm like, nah, it's fine. My brother's dating his partner. And he's like, no, I'm not gay. I'm literally in your closet. And I'm like, wait, hang on. Really? Who is this? Come find out. He was saying that while I was laughing, like I'm not exaggerating over that. And I'm like, where the hell are you? And he's like, are you stupid or something? Are you off your meds or something? I literally said I'm in your fucking closet. Come fucking find me, you fuck. And I'm like... Okay, so I get up from the couch, and then I literally go ahead and go to my, and I'm like, wait, which closet are you in? And he's like, the top one. Wait, you only have like one closet? And I'm like, no, I have multiple. And he was like, I'm in the top one by the bunk beds. And I was like, okay. It was my buddy Carl, and he was like, hey man, what's up? And I was like, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I got lost. And I was like, you're not excused. There's actually no excuse for prank calling me in my own house. I'm surprised you're still walking, so get out. And he's like, wait, what? And I was like, now, get out. One time I was driving this bus back in like 2016, and I had to pick up this group of students. The kids were being kids. This one kid was like, can I sit up on the front? I get car sick. And I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Just sit your ass down. And he's like, yes, sir. And I'm like, don't call me sir. It makes me feel old. Call me Big Sexy. And the kid's like, okay, Big Sexy. And I'm like, damn right. Okay, bitches. I'm your bus driver for today. My name's John, but you can call me Jazz. You got that? 1. No talking. Talking activates my back row mullet. And if you talk, it's going to activate my anxiety. So absolutely no talking. If you talk, my anxiety is gonna act up, and it will eventually cause us to go into oncoming traffic. Rule number 2, absolutely no cologne. Cologne messes with my allergies, and it'll cause me to sneeze my tampon out. And that same nerdy kid asks, can I roll down my window? And I'm like, and rule number 3, absolutely no rolling down your windows. We got AC for a reason. And speaking of AC, I'm turning it off. It's a cool 98 degrees out, so you'll survive. And if you roll that window down, I'll pull this bus over and beat the shit out of you. And if you try to tell your parents, I'll tell them at the next parent-teacher meeting that you did to yourself because you're emo. No, that's fucking rock. And then there was a fight going on a couple minutes later. And then, so I was like, a fight? Oh, hell no. And then I, go while the bus was still driving. And that same nerdy kid was like, wait, who's driving the bus? Bleh. And I was like, hey, break it up. And I, slap them all silly. And then that same nerd kid asks, hey, can you drive the bus? And I'm like, 1 second, let me take a sip of my yoo-hoo. And he's like, stop sipping your yoo-hoo and drive the bus. And I, throw the yoo-hoo bottle at him, and I'm like, how about you try becoming a father at 6 years old, drop out of high school, and become a bus driver? Then you can make the rules. And then I get pulled over by a police officer, and I'm like, oh, what now? And the same nerdy kid's like, probably because you weren't driving the bus. And I'm like, I'll settle this. My daughter's a police officer. I'll handle this. And then I get pulled over, and then a police officer comes, and he's like, sir, can you please explain to me why you weren't driving this bus? And he's like, wait, Uncle John, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I knew it would be my own niece that'd be able to pull me over. And she's just like, Uncle, why was nobody driving this bus? You shouldn't even be driving. Your license got suspended because you got too many DUIs. Well, I gotta make money somehow. Are you gonna pay my mortgage? And she's just like, no. And I'm like, okay, then get the hell off my bus. And then this kid, don't even ask me who, because I still don't know to this day, sprays cologne, and I'm like, it's you. And I'm like, okay, which one of you brats sprayed cologne? I just sneezed my tampon right out of my body. And I look at that nerdy kid, and I'm like, was it you? And he's like, I'm throwing up. And I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna find who sprayed that cologne, and I'm gonna throw him off this fucking moving bus. I found this nerdy girl, and she was with the cologne, so guess what I did? I threw her off the bus. And they're the same nerdy kid. He rolls his window down because he had to throw up, and I'm like, that is it.
You all have broken every rule today. And then I put the window back up, and I'm like, what'd I say about putting the window down? And the guy's like, but I had to throw up. And I'm like, oh, yeah, likely story. And he's still like, my throw up bag was full. And I was like, oh, your throw up bag is full. And I'm just like, oh, your throw up bag is full. Well, how about you come with me outside? We'll dump on the ground. You can eat it. How about that? But however, though, the stupid ass kid stole my fucking bus. So, yeah, that's a long story. You know, kids are fucking stupid. They're always like, Dad, I want to play. Dad, I want to play. Yeah, let's play. And you're like, no, we're not. I want mom. Whoa, your mom's dead, kid. I mean, they're always pestering you what you did over the weekend. The fucking weekend. Like, have you ever asked a grown-up what they did over the weekend? Because if you do, their face lights up. Hey, what are you doing over the weekend? I did nothing. Like, you can't compare an adult and a kid. A kid is a freeloader who sits on the couch playing their stupid-ass video games and wastes all your money. Meanwhile, adults work very hard. They pay the bills all day. But, however, though, kids always want to do stuff. Kids are being kids. And whenever you don't want to do stuff, they always get angry. They're like, oh, we didn't do shit all day. But, like, seriously, anyway, back to the adult weekend scenario. If you ask an adult, their faces will light up. They're like, oh, I did nothing. You want to do something? We can play some pickleball. We can play chess. We can play golf. Mini golf, maybe. Like, you know, I was with my girlfriend this one time, and we were at a club, at a bar. We were at a bar club thing, and she drinks like a fucking monster. It was like 12 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, wait. Don't you have to be at school tomorrow? Aren't you learning about how the equator works? No, I'll just show a video. I ain't doing shit around here. I clean up the school, and you know how they reward me? And I'm just like, how do they reward you? With fucking peanuts! Well, sure as hell glad I am a comedian. Babe, if I'm being honest, your life sounds like a shithole. Try to quit as soon as possible. Also, when you get back to school, make sure to slap the principal for me. So that's why teachers show videos, because they're exhausted and they don't want to teach no more. Like this one time, I was working at SeaWorld, and there was this kid. He was like, I don't know, 10, 12, 13. No, wait, not 13. Probably like 6, I don't know. But he was just like, I want to kick a dolphin. I'm just like, what the fuck? What now? And he's like, I want to. And the dad's like, yo, how much for him to kick a dolphin? I'm just like, my name's not Yo, and he's not kicking the dolphin. The kid's like, shut up, Dad, I'm talking. But the dad's just like, okay, whatever you want, son. I'm just like, oh, hell no. But kind old Eugene, he was like 67-ish years old. And he was like, John, do you need help with any problems? And I'm like, the problem's only 2 feet tall. I think I can handle it. And he's like, oh, drat. The kid's just like, let me kick the dolphin, loser. And I'm like, how about a free swimming lesson with sharks? And kind old Eugene's like, God damn. But the kid's just like, shut up. You picked your high school. And I'm like, well, you're not going to make it to high school, stuttering booster seat. Eugene's like, God damn, that bitch deserves it. The dad's just like, is there a problem? And I'm like, yeah, it's standing in front of me. You want to try parenting now? Or did your wife give up on that when she gave up on your marriage? And Eugene was just being my biggest supporter. And the kid's like, let me kick the dolphin. And I'm like, no. And the kid's just like, and the dad's like, come on, let him kick a dolphin. And I'm like, no, the dolphins did nothing wrong. And the kid's like, let me kick the dolphin. And he like strikes me right in the cock. I want to kick a dolphin. But I get up and I'm like, and I want to kick a rat-faced iPad kid, but we all can't get what we want, can we? And I just slap him, and he lands right into the shark tank. And then I take a couple grenades and throw them into the shark examinatory, killing that son of a fucking bitch kid. I used to work as a Bell salesman. Not very surprising. I mean, I'm really loud. The past couple of years, I've honestly done a lot of work on myself. I realized I will honestly be fine as long as I get all the attention that I deserve. I always used to work so hard in school, and I did all the chores, and no one really gave a shit. So I never really got the attention that I deserved. I wasn't really as famous or as cunning or as charming as this guy named Quentin Xavier. He was a famous painter, and a really famous one at that. I really wanted to know what he had that I didn't. And I found his phone number on Wikipedia, so I call him up, and I ask how he becomes so successful and famous. And he says he does what his heart desires. So this is what I'm doing. I'm doing what my heart desires. I'm doing what I was made to do. It wasn't until I was walking down the street when I was like 18 years old or something, and this creepy guy like comes out of an alleyway and tells me that I was adopted. They said that my real mother had been murdered by George Washington. Now that story's pretty hard to believe. I mean, George Washington is long gone. I even found that hard to believe. I was like, get the hell out of my face, man, before I pop you. Now, I didn't actually mean that. I didn't have any weapons on me. I meant like I would just punch him in the face or something. And he was like, but wait, I know stuff. But he actually did say that if I ask my parents about it, they will get really upset. So don't ask her if you were adopted unless you want to upset her. But if you ask your grandparents about it, they will say that I'm lying. I'm being for real, that's what he said. The thought of who to ask stresses me out. And to compound that, when I was 18 years old and I didn't know who George Washington was, I thought George Washington was Abraham Lincoln. Like at that moment, I dropped out of college before I get to my U.S. history class and before I get to learn about who George Washington actually was. I thought he actually freed the slaves. And that summer of 2012, like people would call it 12 now these days, Obama was president then, and he gave a speech right in front of the Lincoln Memorial and said, "This President Lincoln, a great Lincoln, for so that it's a great Lincoln, he's a wonderful Lincoln. And he may have been a bad person back in the day, but he freed us, and he was also a loving son, a protective brother, and a loyal friend. And to those virtues, we pray that his soul may salvation." Literally, that's how I remember it from the news. I was just watching the news in shock, and I was just like, oh my god. This goes all the way to the top, baby. Honestly, I always wanted attention in school, but like on a new whole hazmatic toxic level. I mean, like, honestly, I don't know if you ever had this feeling, but do you guys remember like when you were like grade school, elementary school, grammar school, whatever you call it, and there was this kid and your friend literally told you that a grandparent on one of their sides died, and that certain kid would get a lot of attention. Like the teacher would be like, Monty's grandpa passed away, or if you're in middle school or like 5th grade or something, you'd have to like literally share about what happened on the weekend. Like you'd raise your hand and the teacher would call on you, Aaron, and the student would be like, my grandma died, and the teacher would be like, oh my god, please tell this grandparents, go to their grave and tell them that Miss Rachel sends their regards. The students wanted to be like, god damn, and that kid would just become like the VIP for the entire day. And this kid would like be in a beanbag chair during reading time or outside during a physical therapy or something. I'm not sure if any of you have had that class. And you're like, oh man, you sick fuck. Oh man, where is the days gone? Just forget the goddamn fact there's a laminated construction paper list of who'd get to sit in the beanbag chair. And a lot of you, even me, have been patiently waiting for our day. How about we just forget that the beanbag, the whole purpose is to teach us patience. You just sit there, shh, 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 shh. First of all, why do people always do that? They always have to shush children. Shh, shh, shh. Shut the fuck up now. Parents are always doing that. They're always shushing their kids, like if their child's gonna tell something important and like something that's happening, like, I don't know, like at the time of the Hindenburg disaster and the kid notices something. I think the reason why the Hindenburg disaster happened is because all the parents were idiots. All the parents at the time during the Hindenburg disaster were all idiots. They were like, Mom, I have there's a spark going off in the engine room. And their parents were like, shh. I'm talking here. Anyway, let's get back on topic. Do you know how much attention people with dead grandparents have? Now, I'm not trying to offend anyone whose grandparents have died, okay? I I loved my grandmother. She was a very nice person. I just loved her. She was so nice to me, and I loved her. But for real, have you ever hoped, maybe even pray, get one of my grandparents so I can get attention to? No, don't actually do that. Because when that wish comes true, you're never gonna learn. So you don't want to kill the important ones. But you can kill one of the unimportant ones that mean nothing to you. Oh, yeah, you gave me my gift. You got no use for me anymore. Snap. You've released from existence. That sure as hell be a weird superpower to have. It's a very good pleasure to be here in Chicago. Thank you for all coming. You know, the first time I ever saw Chicago, I saw this movie called Home Alone. It took place in Chicago. It is a prequel to the film Home Alone 2. Remember, there was this one scene in that film where the brother, Kevin, uses his dad's aftershave and gets severely burned. And he screams like, "Ah!" That movie is great, but honestly, that is a stupid movie title. Home Alone 2, you need supervision to use a can opener. How did you become Home Alone? I know it's kind of stupid to complain about a movie that came out around 36 years ago, but I wasn't a comedian back then. Also, I wish I'd been a Death Jam comic when that movie came out. If I was a Death Jam comic in the 90s, I would have been like, you see this shit? You see this Home Alone prequel to Home Alone 2 Lost in New York shit? This a grand system, motherfuckers. You're going now, 45th and 6th, where you want to go. 92 and 3, where you want to go. 1 and 10th, you simple bitch. That would be my big joke. It would be the closer if I was a Death Jam comic by the time Home Alone came out. One time, I was actually working at a gas station, and then I just finished up checking out this guy's chips, and I was like, next customer, and this guy wanted to return a lottery ticket. He was just like, hey man, I want to return this lottery ticket. And then I'm just like, what? And he's like, it's not a winner. I'm like, you're not a winner. And the guy's just like, excuse me? And I'm like, we don't do refunds on lottery tickets. How the hell does that make any sense? But that's idiots just like, but don't you guys just have a 30-day return policy? And I'm like, I have a 30-second idiot policy, buddy. Time's running out. And he's just like, I followed the instructions and it didn't hit. And I slap him. I'm like that. And this one guy's like, oh man, I gotta shop here more often, as he opens a bag of Lay's. And he's just like, oh, can we at least do an exchange? And I'm like, for what? And he's like, I want to exchange it for a winning ticket. And I'm just losing brain cells at this guy's idiot mind. And I'm like, do you not understand what the lottery is? And that guy eating chips is like, I don't even think he understands what a social skill is. But he's just like, this is just a terrible customer service. And I'm like, well, you're a terrible customer, so I guess that would make sense. And he's just like, I just want a winning lottery ticket. And I'm like, so does everyone. That is the entire damn point of playing the fucking lottery. How do I need to explain this shit to you right now? And he's just like, I want to speak to your manager. And I just say, well, I want to talk to your mother because I want to tell her what a little idiot she raised. And then there's just silence. Like, no, seriously, like, everyone just goes quiet. Seriously, like, for real. And he's just like, so is that a no? And I slap him again. I'm like, how do I need to explain this to you right now? If I knew how to win the lottery, why the hell would I work here? And the dude's just like, I don't know. I guess I just never thought of you as a person. And the guy eating chips is like, can I have him too? And I'm like, go ahead. Our cameras don't work. So he does. You know, this actual story reminds me of a time that I worked at a gas station. It was called 7-Eleven. This was one time I was working at 7-Eleven, and there was this kid, 14, 15, 18 maybe, I don't know, and he was like, I don't know, he looked pissed, so, yeah, I was like, alright, that'll be, $2.59, and he was like, it's supposed to be free, I have the rewards points, and I was like, sorry, man, if you have the rewards points, they discount your drink automatically, and he was being an asshole. He was like, no, you're wrong, definitely wrong, and I was like, sir, I'm gonna give you a chance to reconsider the choices that you are about to make. Pay for your decaf espresso coffee now, and hopefully leave this store in one damn piece. And the customer that was standing behind him, he was like, hey, man, is it okay if I pay before this son of a bitch causes a whole scene? And I was like, oh, yeah, man, don't worry, that one's on the house. Yeah, don't worry. And he was like, oh, thanks, dude. I appreciate you. And I looked back at the guy, and I was like, all right, where were we? He kept on complaining on how there shouldn't have been a price. And I was like, oh, right, We were at that. So, are you going to pay for your drink now? And he was like, how dare you not cater to my every request? Like, like a spoiled brat he was. Probably was a spoiled brat. And he was like, how dare you not cater to my every request? You know who you are? You are beneath me. You little... And I just, like, slapped him hard to give him a piece of my mind. You want to try that again? How about you little son of a bitch go pay and leave with the amount of dignity you have left? Honestly, I don't even know how you're still walking, because I've been serving you decaf for weeks and you still haven't noticed. He was like, wait, what? Yeah, so pay for your coffee and maybe move to another state, because you are banned from this store. There are some real idiot customers out there. Like, this 7-Eleven I was working at, he had a drive-thru. This old fuck, he would, like, order there every single day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And every morning, he couldn't decide what he wanted. So, all I had to do, I just heard this, I'll have a, I'll have a, no, not that, Kind of reminds me on how my brother's ex-wife orders. She'll be like, let me see. Like when she's at a new restaurant, she's like, let me see. Like, these people are fucking morons, man. Like all those other people. Yeah, like, I was like, dude, you can order or what? No, not that. And then he got so nervous he left the drive-thru.